44% of managers say giving critical feedback is stressful, and 1 in 5 admit they avoid it entirely. Let me start with something personal. I didn't exactly grow up with a healthy relationship to feedback. It always felt like judgment, not help. So when I became a manager, I carried that with me. If I had to give someone hard feedback or bring up something that wasn't working, I'd try to pretend I had it handled and was prepared, but my body language communicated something entirely different, akin to a frozen tundra kind of vibe. I would then move forward into a river ice breakup and over-explain absolutely everything. And after that, I'd specialize in complete delay, and finally, I'd attempt to coach around it without actually naming the thing. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't know how to deal with the discomfort it brought up in me. That's the truth about leadership. It asks us to become fluent in discomfort, especially our own. I once had a team member who consistently, and I mean consistently, missed deadlines. He cared very deeply about his work, and he was an incredible analyst. His spreadsheets, whoa, mama, massive, brilliant, insanely detailed. The kind of work that made me look really good in front of leadership. But we had a problem. His work was always late. And by the time I finally received it, there was no time to discuss what it meant, no time to perfect the story it told. So I'd end up working late, poring through the data, calling him after hours, just to make sure I understood what I was discovering within the data, before I had to actually present it the very next day. I didn't say anything for a long time. I rationalized it. Like, who am I to get in the way of his creative process? I told myself the deadline didn't matter as much as the output. I made tons of excuses, but every one-on-one became a mental battle. I knew I needed to bring it up, and when I did, his work would then get rushed. The brilliance faded, so I'd end up retreating again, and I stayed stuck for a very long time. Eventually, though, I realized this isn't working for either of us. So I stopped trying to force a deadline he couldn't meet, and I stopped working around it in silence. Instead, we had a real conversation. I discovered if we worked out a cadence, a rhythm that honored his process, it would also give me the data when I needed it. We changed the system so that he could have the time he needed and I could formulate a story worth telling from his brilliant data. It created a richer cadence to my monthly leadership updates, and he built repeatable, reliable data points that only needed to be shaped from my requests. We realized we didn't need to recreate the wheel every time. And that was the turning point, because difficult conversations aren't just about correction. They're really truly about collaboration. They're about saying, this matters. Let's find a better way. So let's name what's real here. Difficult conversations aren't hard because we care. They're hard because we do. And we've internalized this idea that saying something hard will actually break trust. That's the pit in your stomach kind of feeling you experience when gearing up to have a tough talk. And it's just letting you know how much you care about the relationship. Here's how you can bring yourself some space. When you say the thing clearly with care, know that you don't break trust. You build it. Clarity in a talk like this is respect, and feedback is a form of investment in the relationship. When you avoid the conversation, well, You're just protecting your own comfort. But when you have it, you protect their growth and yours. I've created something simple to help. The 3-minute prep sheet for difficult conversations. It's a one-page, simple, printable tool. I will include it in the show notes. It has 5 reflection prompts designed to help you get clear, calm, and centered before you walk into that meeting. And that is really important. You'll reflect on things like, what needs to be said? Why have I been avoiding it? What will happen if I say nothing? What does a successful conversation look or feel like? And what's one line I could actually use to begin? You don't have to script it all. You just need to start with honesty. The download is free. Grab it in the show notes. So here's your challenge this week. Pick one conversation, just one that you've been avoiding. Take 3 minutes with the prep sheet. Write what's true. Then ask yourself, what would it look like to lead this conversation with care? Don't wait for the perfect time. Just choose a real one. And remember, no one expects you to say it all perfectly. They just need to know you're willing to say something.